Cool. So we're recording. I'm just going to get started. It's just a very relaxed conversation about unleashing the power of our noggins.
Yes, and that's where all the secrets lie, for sure.
Yes, perfect. Cool. So I love to kick off these interviews by asking you just to share a little bit about your story and how you got into this work. Like, where did that come from? Was it part of your upbringing? Like, how did all of this come about?
Well, my upbringing included an opportunity when I was what is called second grade in school. And the first time I looked into a microscope and I saw living cells. And in my child second grade mind, I looked at them and I saw that they weren't just bouncing around. They were actually like moving around, checking things out. And then I looked at them and I thought, oh my God, they're like little people. And that captured my attention. And ultimately, I when in graduate school, I got into electron microscopy and was able to go into the cell and see the molecules and see the skeleton is what it's like inside and live in there. And then I was growing stem cells, which are today everyone's heard of stem cells. I was doing this research 52 years ago, so there was only a small number of people in the whole world that even knew what a stem cell was. So I was in a unique place. And what was interesting about this work was I was cloning stem cells. So let me explain what that simply means is I take just one, first of all, back up, what the heck is a stem cell? Okay, so let's start with this. When we look in the mirror and see ourselves and we see a single individual looking back, I say that's an illusion because a human is not a single individual. A human is made out of 50 trillion cells. The cells are the living entity. So a human, by absolute definition, is a community of 50 trillion cells working together. Health is when there's harmony in the community, and disease is when there's disharmony in the community. So I'm growing these cells in culture for what reason? Because every day out of our 50 trillion cells, we lose hundreds of billions of cells die every day. Red blood cells are dying, skin cells are dying. The entire lining of the digestive tract is replaced every 3 days. That's nearly 1 trillion cells. And there's a point that says, well, if cells keep dying, where are the new ones coming from? Otherwise, we would die. So now give some assurances to everybody out there. If you're alive, you have stem cells, because stem cells are embryonic cells that are still in our body, but are used to replace the dying cells that die every day. Because if we didn't replace them, we would die. So all of us have embryonic cells in our body, named stem cells, and I was growing them in clonal culture, meaning I put one stem cell in a dish by itself, and it divides every 10 or 12 hours. So first there's one cell, then 2, 4, 8, and it keeps doubling, doubling, and doubling. After a week, 30,000 cells in the Petri dish. But the most important point is that they're all genetically identical because they came only from one parent. There was only one cell in the dish, okay? Now, I need to take a little side step here for a second and say, while I'm doing all this research, of course, I'm teaching students. And in fact, when I was at University of Wisconsin Medical School, I was teaching medical students the belief that genes control life. That's what most people have some belief about, okay? But in the laboratory, I have this clonal culture, 30,000 genetically identical cells. And I separate them into 3 Petri dishes. So all the dishes have genetically identical cells. But I changed the culture medium composition. So back up now, I say, what's culture medium? I say, well, you grow cells in an environment, and the environment you grow them in is called culture medium. And culture medium is the equivalent of blood. Okay. So if I grow human cells, I say, what's human blood made out of? And then I make culture medium to grow the cells in. If I grow mouse cells, I look at mouse blood composition. Okay, so I'm growing genetically identical cells in all 3 dishes, but I changed the chemistry of the culture medium a little bit because I'm creating in a lab. I'm creating culture medium, so I can change the chemistry a little bit. So here's the amazing result. I have 3 different versions of culture medium and 3 plates with identical, genetically identical cells. And I add each to plate 1, version A, environment A, culture medium, version B in the other plate, version C in the 3rd plate. Interesting result was in plate 1, the cells form muscle. In culture dish 2, the cells form bone with a different environment. And in a different environment in dish C, the cells form fat cells. Now, the most important question is, well, what controls the fate of the cells?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was, they were all genetically the
So
same.
it wasn't the genetics, it's the environment that they're in.
It
Yeah.
was the environment. So all of a sudden that changes, because I'm teaching in a medical school classroom, genes control life. And in my research, the cells are saying, no, that's not true.
How is that a conflict of things? And were you kind of quick to sort of change the teaching? Was it difficult to kind of spread this new information that you had?
Well, first of all, I have to say that all my colleagues thought my research was stupid because it didn't conform to what they believed.
Right.
Everyone else was teaching genes control life, and my research says maybe that's not true. But I'm a one person. They have thousands of people, so they voted me out in a sense of listening. And I left the system because I said, look, science is based on prediction. And I can tell you what, I can predict what's going to happen in that Petri dish in 3 days from now by adding this culture medium. So it's not an accident. I know exactly what's going to happen, and it's based on the environment. Let me take this experiment and make it personal just for a second.
Yeah.
I said I put cells in a Petri dish, and the fate of the cell was controlled by the culture medium. Then I said the culture medium is equal to blood, okay? And then I go back and I told you the body is not one thing, it's 50 trillion cells. So the jokey picture is a human body is a skin-covered Petri dish with 50 trillion cells inside. And the culture medium is the original culture medium, the blood. And then I said, but what's the result? I said, the chemistry of the culture medium controlled the fate of the genes. I go, well, does it make a difference if the cell is in a plastic dish or a skin-covered dish? I go, nope, it's still the chemistry of the culture medium. So all of a sudden I say, oh, well then the cells in my 50 trillion skin-covered dish here, the fate is controlled by the chemistry of the blood, the culture medium.
Yeah.
And then 2 simple steps, and then it blows your mind. And the step number 1 is, well, who's the chemist that controls the chemistry? And I go, the nervous system is the chemist that controls the chemistry of the culture medium, blood. But then the last and the biggest question is, so what chemistry should the brain put into the blood? And here's the amazing, amazing conclusion. Whatever picture we hold in our mind, that picture is translated into chemistry by the brain. So there's a different chemistry for a picture of love. For a picture of fear has a completely different chemistry. Whatever we're experiencing in life has a different chemistry. So our biology is a complement to the thoughts that we have in our head.
Here's a question for you then. When we are just born and babies and we don't have a concept of imagery and things like that, what controls that progression?
Well, that becomes the next most important step in the story we're going to tell, and that is this. A baby is born with a clean slate. There's no picture in the mind. There is nothing because they just got here, okay? And so,
but they grow into a baby, right? They don't grow into like an elephant. Unless
no. The cells create a mechanism. This is the mechanism. How do I use this mechanism? What is the fate of this mechanism? What is the health of this mechanism? It's not controlled by the genes that make the body. It's controlled by the consciousness of that body.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the genes are going to make a human, but how is that human going to experience life? Oh, well, that's depending on the consciousness. And then I say, yeah, but what you just brought up was an important point. A baby doesn't have life experiences really. And actually, in the last trimester of pregnancy, it's actually beginning to learn. I say, what do you mean? I say, if you play music to the womb area, so you play music with a speaker near the abdomen, the fetus, if you repeat that music, the fetus will learn that music. So the moment it's born, if you put that music on, the baby will look around and know that's the music it knows. Or, for example, if the father talks to the fetus by talking to the abdominal wall, and then the baby is born, and the father says anything, the baby will know exactly which one the father is because it knows the voice. So learning started in the last trimester of pregnancy by the experiences of being in the womb.
Very
But
cool.
the next 7 years, learning is also the most important part of creating a life of a child, for the simple reason, let's say if I buy a new computer and it has an operating system so I can turn it on, but it has no programs, I can't do anything with it. It's a computer, got no program. First, you have to download the programs, whether it's a read-write program or a spreadsheet or an art. You can't do it until first you put the program in, then you can use the program. A baby, when it's first born, is essentially the computer with no program.
And that's what the parents and everyone starts to give them their...
Yeah, because the child is, and this is all of us, so it's not the child, it's you, it's me, it's all of us. The first 7 years, how do you get programs in? And the answer is the brain of a child is not in conscious thinking yet. It doesn't develop that until around age 7. So the first 7 years, the brain of a child is operating, if you put wires on a person's head, you can read their brain. The vibration of the brain in the first 7 years is not at the level of consciousness. It's a lower vibration. It's called theta.
Does that mean, is that a very susceptible level, right? Is that...
Oh, absolutely. Because theta is imagination. So let's just recognize how children under 7 can mix the real world and the imaginary world. So a tea party, you pour nothing into the cup, you drink nothing, and then you talk about how wonderful the tea was. It was like, that's imagination. Well, that's character.
I mean, adults can do this too, but we don't want to play in that way. We don't give ourselves permission. We call it silly. But kids are beautiful at that. And I'm always curious.
Let me just finish this part, then we'll go. And so I say the character of theta is imagination, but the function of theta is hypnosis. Wow. And I say, what does that mean? I say, for 7 years, the child is in a state of hypnosis, meaning it's observing like a video camera. Whatever it sees and hears is recorded like a program in the subconscious mind. The conscious mind's not working yet, age 7. So first 7 years is download how to be a member of a family, how to be a member of a community. I said, how do you learn that? I said, you just watch and listen. You observe, and in a state of hypnosis, whatever you observe goes into the subconscious, and that's a program. So the first 7 years of a child's life is programming the basic behaviors that it will use for the rest of its life.
It's so much pressure for parents, right? Because that's such a monumental thing that you're doing. And obviously most parents, if not all of them, are doing the best they can with where they're at and their understanding and things like that. And sometimes they don't do, it doesn't quite work out as they'd hoped, and we have issues.
Well, yeah, because I think, first of all, parents can only raise children the way they've been programmed to raise, the way they've been raised. How does a child,
unless they've done a lot of work since afterwards,
Yeah, but the point about it is this, that you can only be a parent by the way you were parented, because that's how you learned how to be a parent. You were parented, so you copy that program which you downloaded and play it back as a parent. So the way you parent is essentially the way your parents parented, because that's how you learn. Yeah. Now, the problem is this. We didn't have a good education about parenting. And the reason is simply this. As I said, almost everyone in the world is still believing an old story that genes control life. So when it comes to the development of a child, they would say, the genes control that. And so the parenting is like, you just nourish the child. The genes will take care of the rest. We didn't understand that child was learning behavior even before it was born, and that it was learning by experiencing. So we don't realize, generally, parents don't realize that the child is recording 100% of the time, whatever they see. Now, the problem is this, is that, this is a problem, a whole new story, but the big problem, and it's connected to the development, is there are two minds. This we have to recognize, that we say the mind. I go, no, No, there are two that they work together. One is called the conscious mind and one is called the subconscious mind. Subconscious means below consciousness, meaning the behavior that is programmed in the subconscious, you don't even have to think about it. It's automatic. And a lot of people, just to correct a thing, because so many people think, oh, the subconscious where evil comes from. I go, no. Subconscious is just a machine. It's like a CD recorder. You can record a program, and when you push the CD play button, it plays the program. And every time you push it, it'll play the program over and over and over again. Now, the question is this: is a CD recorder evil? I go, no, it's the machine. It's what you record could be good or bad.
Right.
So I'm saying, so in the development of our recording, the first 7 years is downloading behavior by observing mother, father, family, and community. I say, well, that's really good, except what if their behavior is bad or negative or not good? I said, well, you still downloaded it. You got your program from your parents, okay? And that's in the subconscious. That's automatic, and it's not evil. For example, when did you learn how to walk? Well, before you were 2. Did you ever have to relearn how to walk? No. You could be, an old guy like me, 75 years old. I never have to think about walking. It's automatic. So I say, that's an example. Subconscious works automatically without me thinking. Okay?
And isn't it true that 95% of our actions comes from this subconscious behavior, and only 5% of it is us consciously creating or doing something?
Yeah, and the conscious mind is the creative mind. That's subconscious habits that we record. Conscious, creative. So I say, tell me what you want from your life. Well, that's a question that requires a creative answer. You're going to say,
it does. Yeah.
I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want to make money, blah, blah, blah. I say, which mind has that in it? I say, oh, it's creative. That's conscious mind. So I say our wishes, our desires, what we want, that's conscious mind. But now we find out that the conscious mind can not only be creative, but it can think. I go, so what does that mean? I say, well, thinking is not watching outside. Thinking is going inside. So if I ask you right now, I say, well, hey, tell me what you're doing on Sunday at 2:00. Well, the answer is not out here. The answer is in here. So you have to think. I say, yeah, but the moment you're thinking, then the conscious is no longer looking outwards. The conscious is now looking inwards. I say, oh, so the moment you're thinking, you're not paying attention. I go, right, because the thought, the attention is going inside to the thought. I said,
how about if you say, what am I doing on Sunday? And I create an idea of what I want to be doing on Sunday. Is that not using the conscious mind?
That is a conscious mind. Okay. But the idea is you're using it in a thought, not outside. In other words, let's say you're driving the car. Okay. Oh, here's a perfect example. Okay. Let's say you're driving the car and you have a passenger in the car. And your conscious mind is talking. So you have a dialogue. You're talking to your passenger. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then you look out the window and you realize you haven't paid attention to the road for 5 minutes because you've been talking. I say, where's your conscious mind? It's focused on talking. So then, who drove the car? Because you weren't paying attention. I go, the subconscious is autopilot. So when the conscious mind is directed somewhere else, like the pilot in the plane gets up out of the seat, he puts on autopilot. The autopilot will make sure the plane stays in the control. Well, when your conscious mind is busy, whether you're talking to somebody or thinking, then your behavior doesn't stop. If you're walking down the street and then you have a thought, doesn't mean you stop and then wait for the thought. You can keep walking down the street or driving the car. Now, let's go back to the car story for a second, because there's the cool part. So you're driving the car, you have a conversation, you look out the window and you say, oh, I haven't paid attention to the road for the last few minutes. So now I ask you 2 questions. Tell me what your conversation was about. And you go, oh, we talked about this and this and this, because your conscious mind was focused on that. But then I say, then tell me what was on the road for the 5 minutes. What was happening on the road? And you go, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, well, you didn't hit anything, and apparently you're still driving. I go, yeah, the autopilot subconscious took
Yeah.
over. But now here's the problem. When the subconscious took over, it took over because the conscious mind was busy. Okay? Now the problem is this. You didn't see the behavior of the driving. You didn't see what was on the road. It just drove. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So now let's take it back and put it in a personal life. My conscious mind's creative. It's got all the wishes and desires. And when I'm driving with a conscious mind, I'm going toward wishes and desires. But if I start thinking,
Mm-hmm.
which is 95% of the day,
Mm-hmm.
I let go of the wheel because now I'm going inside. I am thinking, and autopilot takes over, subconscious. So the behavior that you are playing when your conscious mind is thinking, and that's 95% of the day, the behavior is coming from the subconscious. I go, did you see the behavior? I said, no, because I was thinking. I said, well, what's the behavior? I said, whatever you downloaded from your parents, that was
Right.
the program. So if you got bad driving instructions from your driving teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and you get carried away in the conversation, when the automatic pilot is going to drive the car, it's going to drive it just as bad as the bad instructions, okay?
Right.
But you won't see it. So you say, yeah.
Sorry. No, finish.
One last story that ties it together, I hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm loving it.
And I've told this story like 30 years in my lecture because everyone laughs, but that also means they're familiar with the story. And it goes like this. You probably had a friend and you knew your friend's behavior very well. And you happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the exact same behavior as their parent. So you want to tell your friend, you go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. And then I say, back away from Bill. Bill is going to go ballistic. How can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And most people laugh because they have that experience. I go, there's two profound points to the same story. Profound point number one, everyone else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. The only one who says no is Bill. He doesn't see it, so he's complaining. How can you compare me to my dad? So everyone can see Bill behaves like his dad except for Bill. And then I go, and why is that happening? Because he got the program from his dad. It's his automatic pilot. When he's thinking, he's not observing the behavior. The behavior that's coming out is the program. He's behaving like his dad, but he's the only one who can't see it. Why? Because he's not paying attention, because he's thinking with his conscious mind. And then the conclusion of profound point number two is we are all Bill. Every one of us is exactly what Bill does.
Yeah.
We are thinking, and the moment we're thinking, the behavior is coming from the program. We don't see the behavior because our attention is not looking at it. And most 70% of the program is negative, disempowering, self-sabotaging. I say, you don't even see you're doing that, but what you see is the result. What do you mean? I go, I wanted to be successful, I'm not. I wanted to be healthy, I'm not. I wanted love, I can't find it. And you're thinking, well, these are things I want. How come I can't get them? And then we blame the world. Oh, the universe isn't my friend. It's not in my fate to be successful. I'm a victim. And I go, wow, you were creating the good and you were creating the bad, but you didn't see you were creating the bad. All you see is the result. You didn't see that you were the participant.
Yeah.
And this is what we have to wake up for, because as long as we believe we are victims, that means victim means no power.
Yeah.
And so you're telling yourself, I am powerless. Look, I wanted to be successful. It's not working. It's not me. I am powerless. And I'm going, are you kidding?
Yeah.
You are the creator,
Right.
but you didn't see it. And this is the wake-up call, because now the opportunity is this. And I'm going to have to let you talk, but I want to finish the statement so I can.
You're in such a flow. I'm like, go for it.
Well, the point is, most people have seen the movie The Matrix. And I go, well, that's listed in the video store as science fiction. I go, no, The Matrix is a documentary. Every one of us has been programmed. First, that's the given. Everybody has been programmed through age 7. Everyone. But in the movie, they say you could take the blue pill, and then when you wake up, you're back in the program, and life is just the way it's always been. But if you take the red pill, you get out of the program. And so here's my point. Almost everybody in this audience today, all those wonderful people listening to us who are cultural creatives because they're looking for new answers, and that's why they're here. So congratulations. Right. Almost every one of us has not recognized that at some time in our life, we took that red pill with profound consequences and didn't even know what happened. And that is when we've fallen in love. And I said, what do you mean? I say, well, your life could be blah, 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 every day, blah, 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 blah. And then one day you meet this special person and you fall in love. And I say, and in 24 hours, all of a sudden you look around, you go, life is beautiful. The music's great. The food's great. My relationship is amazing. And I love, even the stupid job is better. And I'm saying, in 24 hours after meeting this person, you created heaven on earth. Your life was blah, blah, blah every day. And then 24 hours, you have heaven on earth. I say, that wasn't an accident. That was the first time you stop playing the program. That's what science has recognized. When you fall in love like that, you stop playing the program. You become what is called mindful. That means you stay in the conscious mind and stop thinking. I said, well, what happens when you stop thinking? Well, if you're not thinking, you're still driving the vehicle. And now all of a sudden, it's not 5% of the day. You're driving that vehicle 90% of the day with wishes and desires. And guess what the moment you stop playing the program because you fell in love and you started driving with wishes and desires, you manifested wishes and desires. You created heaven on earth. So what was the point? The point was, heaven on earth was available every day. It was only your program that you played every day that prevented you from experiencing it. But the moment you took the red pill, the moment you fell in love, you stopped playing the program and immediately your life changed in 24 hours.
I love that. And I totally see the truth in that. However, I still believe that there is programming that happens, that moment happens where you go, I'm in love, everything is great for that time. But then if there's underlying subconscious stuff about relationships, that's going to creep in when you start thinking, because for someone just to stay in love and focused and on that one thing for 30 years doesn't really happen. So what I was really interested in about what you've just been saying is I see two ways of changing and recreating things, which is reprogram and how to stay in that concentrated state for longer and get off the thinking as much without just falling in love. Because I mean, it's a nice one.
No, you're 100% right. And so let's explain it, because it's very simple too. I said you fall in love, you have what is called a honeymoon. And I say the honeymoon is creating between you and your partner, both are creating your wishes and your desires. But then at some point, you still have a life. You have to do a job. You have to pay the taxes. You got chores. And I said, well, what's the result? And I said, you start thinking. I said, well, what happens when you start thinking? I said, your behavior reverts back to the program. Most of that being negative. I said, so what's the consequence? And here it is. You and your partner have never played your subconscious programs when you were in the honeymoon. But the moment thinking comes back in, and the moment you start bringing up those programs you haven't played before, which are negative, then all of a sudden, guess what? The honeymoon disappears. All of a sudden, the joy and the beauty just doesn't shine as much as it happened anymore. I say, why? Well, you never changed the program that was the blah, blah, blah program. You just stopped playing it. But then once you started thinking, the blah, blah, blah program came back in, the honeymoon falls apart. The relationship generally could crash at this moment. Because why? Because both people all of a sudden are, because they're thinking, are now bringing up the old programs. And the more you bring up the old programs, the more destructive of the relationship. So that's why the honeymoon disappears and inevitably could lead to a complete separation, which leaves both people going, wow, it was so beautiful. And then it went to hell. I go, what happened was, it was so beautiful because you stopped playing the programs. But once thinking starts to kick back in and the programs show up, that's the end of that honeymoon period. So your point that you were bringing up is very critical. Yes, as long as I stay mindful, conscious, and not, revert back to autopilot, I'm in control and I can create what I want. But it's very difficult in today's world to stay conscious because of the amount of thinking required to do every step that we do, what's
Yeah.
happening in the future and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So then the most important thing you brought up then is, what if you can change the program?
Mm-hmm.
Which of course you can,
Yeah.
and rewrite the negative programs and turn them into positive programs. And then here comes the beautiful part, because the program is subconscious, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So if I got rid of the negative programs and only put positive programs in, and that's the mind that is working 95% of the day, and without any effort because it's automatic, that's
Mm-hmm.
the other part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you could have a honeymoon every day the rest of your life without even making an effort, because once if you put the right program in and it plays 95% of the day, guess what? You'd be creating heaven on earth 95% of the day. So
I love it. So how do we reprogram?
Oh, that's a good question.
I want to.
Okay.
There's definitely some things I could tweak.
Well, let's first help people with a very simple understanding. The first simple is this: what the heck is the programming? Because you got the programming before you were even born, you started, and through first 7 years. So I say, well, so what program did you get when you were 0? You go, I don't know. Okay, what program did you get when you were 1? I don't know. 2, I don't know. And I go,
I'm thinking things like beliefs, right? Beliefs or like habits.
Well, the habits. The programs are habits. That's what they are. They play automatically. So I say, so I'm going to help everybody right now. Okay. You can't tell me what the program was by going back in your mind, because you weren't conscious
right
when the program was coming in. So you have no idea what the program is.
So
now Bruce's quick understanding, 95% of your life is coming from your program. Your life is a printout of your programs, 95%. So look at your life, and here's how you break it down. The things you like that come into your life easily, they come in because you already have a program to let them in. But, and this is the but, whatever you desire and seek, and you can't get there, and you have trouble, and you have to work real hard, and you put a lot of effort into it, and you sweat over I'm looking for a relationship, I'm looking for help, I'm working real hard. I go, why are you working so hard? And the answer is, because you're trying to override a program. What doesn't work not because you can't have it. It doesn't work because your program doesn't let you have it. So all of a sudden I say, well, then look at your life. And wherever you are struggling in your life, it's not because the environment won't give it to you. Nature won't give it to you. It's not that. It's your own programming.
That's brilliant.
That's sabotaging you.
Yeah, because I keep thinking, how do you find what you need to work on, and that makes complete sense. You work like you know, whatever you're not getting or whatever you're coming up against, that's the programming that needs to be fixed.
So now you already have to say, so if it's I have trouble getting relationships. So the first thing is this: your programming about relationships is not fulfilling your wish.
Yeah.
Your program is negative.
Yeah.
So I say, do I have to know who gave me the program? Did I get it from my dad or mom? And that's where people waste their time. I say,
right.
There's an old saying called, don't kill the messenger over the message. The one who delivered the message, the messenger, who created problem in your life, okay, that brought the problem in your life, but you're the one that created the program.
Right.
You could yell at your mom and you could yell at your dad, and I go, that doesn't change the program. That's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You got to change. So now we find I have a problem with health. I have a problem with relationship. And I say, okay, so what is it you want? That's the whole thing that you can't get. So first of all, you make a statement. It's like, I want to be loved. And I go, okay, so you need to make a program of I am lovable. I am healthy. I am worthy. So if you're having trouble getting a good job, it's because you're sabotaging yourself because of some program in the beginning. Somebody criticized you, and that's where all the problems come from. Parents don't realize they act like a coach on a team to raise their kid. In other words, the child isn't doing well. I say, yeah, if you're a coach on a team and the player isn't doing well, do you go and say, oh, please try and do a good job? No, you go up to the player and say, that's not good enough. Who do you think you are? You don't belong on this team. That needles the player go, yes, I can do this. So that encourages the player. So a parent tries that on a child under 7, 6 years old, 5 years old. That's not good enough. You don't deserve this. Who do you think you are? Well, the idea is this: the child's consciousness doesn't kick in until 7. And it takes thinking to say, oh, what does the parent mean? What does the coach mean? Well, that's thinking. The child under 7 is just recording. What did they just hear? Not good enough. Yeah. Not smart enough, not this, not that. So they're not thinking, they're just recording. And I said, well, what's the program? I'm not good enough. And I say, so now you're 50 years old and you're trying to do better at work. And so 5% of the time you're saying, I could do really great on this job. I could get a raise. I could be really great. But 95% of the time you're playing a program. I said, what's the program? Not good enough. I say, so why is it relevant? Oh, here's one of those, like a sentence comes out and now we have to put in bold print in a box. And here's the sentence. The function of the mind is to create coherence between your beliefs and your reality. If you have a negative belief, the function of the mind is to manifest a negative reality so your belief and reality match. If our beliefs and our reality don't match, we'd be crazy. But the world seems to work out just the way we thought it works out. And I go, no, that's because the way you thought about it is the way you just created it. So the idea is this: if you have a negative program, the function of the mind is not to make a positive program. The function of the mind is to manifest the negative program. Right. That's what you got. Yeah. So now we're looking back and we're looking at our lives and we got all these negative things that we want to change. I said, well, how do you make a positive change? I say, first of all, you have to reprogram with a program that gives you the result. If you're looking for love, the first thing is, I am lovable. You know what's interesting? A very interesting point, because I'm involved with workshops where we do belief change stuff. About 80 to 90% of all people that come to these workshops will not test positive for I love myself. And the reason is this.
When you say test positive, are they doing like a lie detector test or something?
A muscle kinesiology testing.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Okay, now I better give a sidebar about what is muscle testing so people understand that it's a scientific thing, actually.
Yeah.
But based on this, I said we have two minds. Conscious mind is creative, subconscious mind is program. The subconscious mind is like 1,000,000 times more powerful a computer than the conscious mind. So when there's a lot of processing of information to do something like walking, I say walking, yeah, think about all of the muscles that have to be coordinated to keep you in balance as you walk so you don't fall over and you walk and all that. It's too much. Your conscious mind cannot think walking. It's too much. So muscles are controlled by subconscious mind because it's powerful. So walking is a program in the subconscious mind. You learned how to walk, and once you learn, you can do it now without even thinking, oh, I'm going to walk. You just want to go over there. You don't even have to think about it. It's automatic. So I go, okay, so what's the issue about this? I say, the programs are automatic at this point, okay? And the relevance about this is if we came with negative programs, we will automatically create negative results because we match the behavior will match the program. So most people get criticized as children, almost all of us. That's where the story, like the parents are coached. You can do better. You're not good enough. Okay. So because most all of us did get criticized. Yeah. Then when it comes to self-love, we become critical. How can I be lovable? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not this. And all of a sudden you start to realize that the programming that we got in that first 7 years has disempowered us because the beliefs are not loving ourselves. And if you can't love yourself, simple bottom conclusion, if you cannot love yourself, you cannot be loved by anybody else.
I believe it. And I like that. It was interesting the point that you made about when you do this muscle test with people, they fail when they
Yeah.
say, I love myself, proof that it's like an inherent thing for a lot of people. That's really sad. What is
Yeah,
the
but
work that
you
you
know
do
what?
then? Go on.
I'm sorry, because I didn't even finish my own thought on that. So let me finish it because it's going to play into what you're saying. Very important. So I go like this. So I have two minds. Conscious mind is creative. Subconscious mind is habit. My conscious mind says, I want to be loved. So I have to be lovable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so the conscious mind being creative can make any statement. I can make any statement. I've got 5 heads and 20 toes. It's not true, but I can say any damn thing I want. It's creative.
Mm-hmm.
I am lovable. I can say that. But the question is, does the subconscious agree with what you just said? I said, well, how would I know? And the answer is this. If the statement you make with your conscious mind is supported by the beliefs of the subconscious mind, both minds are in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes strength.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if I make a statement with the conscious creative mind that the subconscious mind doesn't believe, then the two minds are not in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Disharmony. I say, and what is disharmony? It causes a weakening of the muscles because the harmony of the subconscious is controlling the muscles. And so when the subconscious is in disharmony, there's a weakness to that so that I can test muscles. And you say, well, what muscles? Like I said, well, you can test an arm muscle, you can test a finger muscle, you can push on a head. It's wherever muscles are involved, even eyes. You can read an eye chart. You make a statement. If the statement is agreed on, the creative statement is agreed on by the program, both minds are in harmony and the muscles of the eyes are strong and they can focus on small letters. But if I make a statement and the subconscious mind goes, that's not true based on our experience, then the minds are in disharmony. And all of a sudden, guess what? The eye muscles become weak. And then trying to even focus on that small letter, you can't do it. You have to see a bigger letter. And all of a sudden I say, any muscle in the body will weaken if a creative conscious mind makes a statement that the subconscious mind doesn't agree with. Then they're in disharmony. And that's how you can do a muscle test. If my arm, I make a statement, my arm stays strong, that means both minds agree. But if I say I am lovable, and then do a test and my arm can't hold up, then it says, well, you just made a statement, but the subconscious doesn't agree. And that means your subconscious doesn't agree you're lovable. Now you're in a lot of trouble. So you want to find out what are the statements that you can make that you can find out if the subconscious agrees. When the subconscious agrees with a statement and you like the statement, then don't worry about it. But if you make a statement that you want to be true, like I am lovable, and then you test and the muscle goes weak, it says subconscious doesn't believe that.
Can we test? Can we test ourselves, or do you have to do it with another person?
You can do it yourself, but you have to be very careful because you can fool yourself as well. So, and doing muscle testing even involves doing it with somebody who is not connected to the result of the
Interesting. Yeah. Someone that's neutral for that. That makes sense.
Because if they're biased, they control the test. So a person wants to sell you supplements. And they say, here, hold sugar. Now let's do, see how weak your arm is? Now hold my supplements. And now your arm is strong. So you should buy my supplements. I go, no, because the person testing already has the belief that you should buy the supplements. So they weren't testing you, they were testing themselves.
Even though they're doing it through even though you're the one that's holding the thing?
Absolutely. It's called entanglement. Your energy and the energy of the person pushing on your arm become entangled together, not separate, but entangled.
Interesting.
And the one pushing on your arm actually controls the test. So
Gotcha.
That's why you want to get a pure test. You do it with somebody who is not connected. So if you have a partner, a spouse, and you want to deal about a personal issue, of course your spouse is connected to the personal issue. Yeah. So they're going to influence the outcome.
Gotcha.
So you got to do it with somebody who's not connected.
And so So you do the thing, and I just think it's so. I believe that a lot of us would say, I've struggled to say my mantra. I had depression a lot when I was younger, and my mantra was, I hate myself. I hate myself. Oh, cringe. Like it was just an ongoing thing. And then I finally realized that this voice was horrible and just like really just holding me back in every way. And I just started changing it to every time I would catch myself saying I hate myself, I would say I love myself. I love myself. And it was so uncomfortable at the beginning. It was very difficult. I was like, oh, this is so hard. And then eventually I kind of just persevered with it. And so I guess it's that repetition is one of the ways that you can change.
Absolutely. So we now go back and we say, so how do we change? Number one, I said the first 7 years we learned because we were in a state of hypnosis, theta, brain function. Okay.
Yeah.
After age 7, we're in consciousness, but I still learn. I said, how'd you learn after age 7? Practice. Whatever it is, whether it was riding a bicycle, whether it was playing an instrument, whether it was anything you wanted to make, you had to practice it, okay? So then that's how you create a habit, and the subconscious mind's a habit mind. So as you said, you can repeat this, and you have to do it as a habit. Every time a negative thing comes in, you have to say, stop, new way. No, I am positive. Because every time you stop it and make it, put the positive side in, you're creating a habit. So it takes repetition. The first 7 years, you learn because the brain was in a lower vibration than consciousness called theta. So here's an interesting fact. At work, our brain vibration is really high. It's called beta. It's a high vibration. That's conscious, focused work. When we come home and relax, the vibration slows down. Now it's called alpha. That's calm consciousness. So as I come home and I relax, I start calming down, the vibrations of the brain are going a little lower, alpha. But at the moment you fall asleep, meaning conscious mind shuts off, it's going to sleep now, the vibration goes lower than consciousness, it's in theta. I say, oh, but theta is where the subconscious is recording. I go, exactly. So every night when you go to bed, the moment the conscious mind falls off into sleep, it means the brain is now operating at a vibration lower than conscious. And the first lower vibration is theta, which is hypnosis. So if you put earphones on when you're going to bed, as soon as the conscious mind disconnects, whatever's playing through that program is now going straight into the subconscious mind.
This is cool.
So you can reprogram. It's called self-hypnosis. So you find a program you want to be true about yourself that you're struggling with. And I say, fine. You put that program on with earphones, and as you're going to bed, the moment your conscious mind goes to sleep, the subconscious is in record. So whatever is coming in through the earphones is going into the record. So you can change your behavior using programs, self-help programs and earphones. That is one way. The second way, as you mentioned, is repetition. You got to repeat something like a habit. It is a habit. That's what you're trying to do. And some people say, well, I put a sticky note on the refrigerator, and I go,
you start to ignore that after a while. Your brain just ignores it, right?
Ignores it. It's not a habit. It's now a suggestion. Yeah, you should do that. That's nice, but it's not a habit because I'm not repeating it. And the idea is, you said, every time you stopped the program when you caught it and you said, stop, I don't want this, you said, no, I hate myself now. You say, no, stop, I love myself. You keep repeating that. Every time that thought comes up, and what is the brain learning? It learns that don't bring that thought up, because every time you bring it up, I have to cancel it and go back to I love myself. After repetition, habit, the brain will not bring that thought back up again. It will immediately just go into I love myself. I love myself. So that is one of the very important ways. I like it, the new agey phrase, fake it till you make it. If you're not happy, just every day, I am happy. I am happy. Now, I know you're not happy, but I don't care. I want you to repeat every day, repetition. Every time you can remember, you're walking around, go, oh, I'm happy. I am happy. I say, why is it important? Because through repetition, the subconscious is going to get a program, I am happy. Then I say, what happens? Well, I say, well, 95% of the day, that program is going to run. I say, and what's the function? The mind is going to make the program real. So all of a sudden, I got a program, I am happy. What's the function of the mind? It will make me happy every day. And all of a sudden, it's like, look, I'm happy. And I say, because you made it a habit. And that's the fun part. Once you put it in the program, you have no more work to do.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
automatic. Totally
It
automatic.
seems to be the best way to do it. Yeah.
The only work is the beginning part. Once it's in,
Yeah.
never the rest of your life. You learned how to walk. Did you? As I said, you didn't have to relearn this. Once you put a program in, it will stay there until you rewrite a program,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
also interesting because you can rewrite or change the program anytime you feel like it. When you realize, oh, maybe I should have made this program or that program. Just do it anytime you want. The habit, the earphones, and now I'm going to add one last one, and this is the part that is like, okay, we need a miracle now. And guess what? The miracle has come. It's called energy psychology.
Ooh.
It's a bunch of modalities that engage what is called super learning. You go, what's super learning? I say, maybe you've seen somebody read a book by opening the book and just moving their finger down the page. Just like that, move the finger down the page. They read every word on that page just by going like that. Super learning. So they can stand in a bookstore, turn the pages, move their finger down the page, and read an entire book in about 5 minutes, okay? And that's super learning. I said, well, if you engage a super learning practice, you can download behaviors in as little as 10 or 15 minutes and change your entire life.
Yeah.
But you have to engage in this super learning practice. So there are modalities. And they're called energy psychology, just to help people. On my website, which is very simple, brucelipton.com. Under resources, there are over 25 different energy psychology modalities listed, where you can review each one and find one that you would particularly feel interested in, and then go to their website and then pursue it. And the significance is profound, because we can change beliefs quickly if you know how to push the record button. You can do it by using hypnosis. You can do it by repetition, and through super learning processes, which are engaged in these energy psychology modalities, you can download these behaviors in actually minutes.
That's incredible.
It is.
I'm going to put a link to your website and that resources page, but do you have can you tell us like one of the types of thing, like, is it like, what is one of the things? Would it be that fast learning and then you would learn how to learn quickly? Is that?
Yeah. Well, basically it's just a way of, let's say the one that I'm most experienced with, and the one that changed my life and allowed me to write my books, which I wasn't able to write because my subconscious was protecting me, because my conscious was going to write this book, which included stuff about spirituality. Well, as a research scientist, you write something like that, that's a kiss of death. No research scientist writes about spirituality. So my subconscious was watching me write this book and going, no, man, if you write this book, you're going to lose your career. And because it was working 95% of the day, it sabotaged my writing. I started 3 different times and never got finished. But once I understood the program, rewrote the program, the book came out virtually instantaneously after that.
What was the modality that you used for that? The one that you...
I use the one that's called like psychology, PSYCH -K. It's psychological kinesiology, Psych K. And it involves first doing muscle testing just to identify my program. I don't need to, if my arm stays strong, or, with a very positive statement, I am healthy, and my arm stays strong, I don't have to deal with this anymore, okay?
Yeah.
But if I say I am lovable, my arm goes weak, I say, oh, that's the one I need to fix, okay? So I use kinesiology to identify for sure what program I want to change. But now that I have the program I want to change, I want to make that change. So the second phase of Psyche is an exercise from neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and it's called Brain Gym. And it exercises the brain so that right and left brain hemispheres start to integrate and work together in harmony. It's called brain sync, okay? Because when did they work in harmony? Before age 7. That's when a child's brain, right and left hemispheres are integrated. And I say, a difference, well, let's say the left hemisphere is intellectual, but the right hemisphere is more emotional. But everything we learned is not just an intellectual thing, it also has an emotional component. So when we were young, the intellectual, emotional components of the brain were integrated. It was called hemisync, hemisphere, right or left, hemispherical synchronization. Okay. After age 7, guess what? They separate. And so during the day, sometime you're in the left hemisphere and you're more intellectual. And later in the same day, you go into the right hemisphere. Now you become more emotional. And it's like a wave. During the day, more intellectual, more emotional, on and off like that. But the issue is you want both of them to be integrated. So the brain gym exercise that's used in Psych is an exercise that causes the right and left hemispheres to come back. And when they're in sync, that's when the door is open to download information rapidly. But on a regular day, right now, you and I, if we did the reading, we're going to be in one hemisphere or the other, but we're not going to be in both at the same time. So the exercise of brain gym becomes important, because at some point it's the mechanism that will integrate both hemispheres and facilitate a rapid minutes download of new information into the subconscious.
Now, does that happen when you're in theta, that moment before you fall asleep? Does that happen too? Or
no, theta, not even using
nothing to do with it.
It has nothing to do with it, because these hemispheres are falling asleep. This is our conscious mind.
I see.
And now it's just open, record, subconscious, no synchronization. Gotcha. It's just an open database. Everything can go into the database when you're in theta.
Got it. So I'd love to know what when you are reprogramming, do you have things that you recommend for this reprogramming stuff? Are there books that you've listened to or certain things that you use? Do you have your own audios and things? Like, what's some good things to start? Because I want to start listening to stuff at night now. And actually, Prince EA and I, a mutual friend of ours, were talking about this. And I bought him like a pillow once that had speakers in it.
Absolutely. And the idea is there are self-help programs on each area of life where you may want to do something better, whether it's a relationship program or making a job program or a health program. And they're available. I don't know where they're available. All kinds of, there's the new agey kinds of things like that. And you can get these. And as I said, this is painless. It takes more time than like the energy psychology, but it's simple. You do it at home. You just put the earphones on, you go to bed. Usually there's like a relaxation exercise before the program kicks in. And this gets you ready to have you go to sleep. So that the moment your consciousness falls asleep, now whatever is on the program is not going through conscious processing. It's just going as a recording straight into the subconscious. It's
brilliant. And what I love is you're a testament to all this stuff, because you're very joyful and just happy. And even before we were talking, I was like, is there anything you want to touch on? You're like, no, just to have a lovely chat. And I'm like, great. I'm curious, are there ever times where you like, are there things that you still need to address with your programming? Or are there ever times where your mood dips? Like, do you ever, or are you kind of quite good at controlling all of that?
Well, now, if you say now, I say, yeah, boy, I'm a lot better than I was, because if I go back many years ago, maybe 40, if you were to assess me psychologically, I probably would have tested as manic depressive.
Wow.
Meaning, as long as my life was running smooth, I was a happy guy and everything was working. But once things started to go wrong, it would be a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And then I'd have like a good guy, bad guy on my shoulder, and the bad guy, you can't do anything right, and I get depressed. And I remember exact instant where this changed, because I was familiar with, here we go, we're going downhill here. I knew that this was the beginning. And I was in the middle of just berating myself for not being smart enough or whatever the hell it was. And the funny part was, there was like, I heard a voice. I was the only one there. So I heard like this voice, like a third party's outside of me over here. And I was in the middle of berating myself. Oh, you're so stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I hear this voice, and the voice, clear as a bell, goes, don't you have anything better to do than to listen to this crap? And it shocked me for a second, like, huh? And then I said, Sure, I'd rather go do a movie than to listen to this. So I stopped at that instant, picked up a newspaper, said, oh, here's a movie. I want to go see this. I stopped where I was, got in my car, went to the movie. 2 hours into the movie, enjoying myself, I came out of the movie, and guess what? No more depression. Why? I shifted my thinking out of the spiral and said, think different. Just go do something different. And once I let go, then the spiral. And so then the next time I started to go down, and I could feel, oh, here it goes. I started to laugh to myself because I remembered when the time that said, oh, it was such a shock. Don't you have anything better to do than listen to this crap? And it's like, I started to laugh. And guess what? Repetition. Every time I caught it before the spiral got worse. And to the point now, I don't have that depression. Now I'm just manic. Now I'm just a happy guy all the time. And it's just beautiful because my programming habituation of repeating, get out of this thought, go do something different. Immediately put the program in my mind that if a negative thought came up, even before it came into consciousness, the subconscious would remember, oh, nope, go do something different. Right. So instead of being caught up in the negative part, my brain automatically switches. Instead of saying, hey, let's go review all the negative. No. So once it starts, it says, oh, go do something. Go do something else. Yeah. And the moment you stop doing that self-negative stuff, guess what? It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. It only existed because I was playing the game. Yeah. But you change the program, it disappears. Yeah. And so I've been pretty happily consistent for years now. And I wake up every day. I know things don't work out all the time, but it doesn't. In the old days, when it didn't work out, it would, yeah. And now it's sort of like, it didn't work out. Go do something different.
Yeah. It's amazing because I mean, I'm in that. I've always been like that. I feel like I'm a puppet. My mood and my energy is like when things go right, I'm high as a kite. Everything's perfect. When something goes wrong, I start to go down, down, down. I get a phone call and everything's happening again. So then I'm up and it's like just, so susceptible to all these exterior things happening. And so I've definitely been getting better at that and looking at ways of dealing with it and catching it when it comes. And for me, it's waking up in the morning, feeling a sense of dread. And then I'm like, ooh, there's some fear here and there's some doubt, which is making me feel this way, which normally ends up kind of leading. But if I can catch it early enough, and you're right, like if I allow myself to wallow in it and fixate on it, then it gets worse and worse and worse. And if I can pull myself out, I mean, it's easier said than done because we're all in different places. But if I pull myself out of it, it can change immediately. So it's, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah.
And the thing is, thought was creating our reality. That's where consciousness comes in. And we've been talking some biological aspects about this, but let me emphasize this. Of all the sciences on the planet, the most valid, meaning the one that's been tested the most and recognized to be truthful the most, is called quantum physics. I go, so what's the meaning of quantum physics? I go, the first principle of quantum physics is consciousness is creating our life experience. And all of a sudden now the biology reveals the same thing. But if you understand how to manipulate that consciousness, then by definition, you manipulated your life experiences. So by learning how to get out of the negative thinking, because as you said, the more negative thinking, it's the more you're empowering an energy that's a negative energy, and the more it will manifest. You drop it, you go to somewhere else, and guess what? No power. The thought has no power. Therefore, you have overpowered the thought.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
This is what the entire message really comes down to is, if you don't like the way it's working, then think of a different way. But you have to recognize 95% is
That's
still
insane.
coming from the program.
Change that program. Get better programs. Which leads me on nicely. Thank you so much for offering to give away 5 winners will get a copy of the Biology of Belief book, which I'm assuming talks about that last point that you said about sort of the science behind that, the energetic.
100%.
Yeah.
It's important because in today's world, uh, we seek truth from science.
Mm-hmm.
In the old world, you wanted to get a question answer, you go to the church and the guy with the black coat, the priest, you get the answer from him.
Mm-hmm.
Today we go to science and the guy with the white coat, and we get the guy with the white coat gives us the science. And the point about that is science is what we believe as the truth of the world. So we look to science and say what's true. And so what's really interesting about the stuff that we've been talking about today is there is a science behind this, and it's epigenetics and quantum physics and all that. But the simple reality is, yes, we are manifesting our life experiences through our consciousness. We've all been altered in our consciousness, and it's now time to take back the power by rewriting that consciousness. Because if we write that we're a victim, then we're a victim. If we write that we're a master, then we're a master. And we've been programmed to be victims. And it's time to get out of victim.
Hear, hear. Thank you so much. It's just so much more empowering just to make that choice, and just to just being able to rewrite and change habitual thinking and all that type of stuff. So I can't wait tonight. I'm going to find something to listen to and start reprogramming this very night. Thanks again, guys. The sign up for the Dr. Bruce Lipton's book giveaway will be in all the show notes. I'll also include a link to his website and the resources that he said, which mentioned all the different, what do you call those things again? The fast
energy psychology.
Energy psychologies, yeah, the ways that you can sort of get your conscious mind souped up so that it sort of downloads stuff faster. I'm curious about that too, because now I know that there's two. There's the subconscious programming, reprogramming, and then there's that other one. So it's cool.
Yes, there is.
So I'll have the link to that there. And just thanks again for this fabulous, mind-blowing conversation. You're a joy. Thank you.
I want to thank you, and I really want to thank our audience, because our audience are the people that are out there dealing with this stuff every day in the world and feeling pretty much strange and looking at the chaos that's going around in our planet today. And I just want people to recognize this is not a coincidence. We're involved with an evolution, but it's not a physical evolution. It's a conscious evolution. And the evolution is, we are not victims, we are creators. And if we work together in harmony, then heaven on earth is the life experience that we would do it when we do it individually. But what would happen if we all collectively do that? And the answer is, then earth is heaven. And that's my belief.
Here. Thank you. Thanks again. This is wonderful.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much for letting me interface with you and this community. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for your time. Bye.